Hey guys, Colby's Biking Gaming here, and today I will show you a drift setup for Forza Horizon 3. So first, you will need a car. You can choose any car you want, but make sure it doesn't have a lot of weight. No trucks and no off-road vehicles. So now let's get started into it. Your car will need to be rear-wheel drive for this, no all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive would be technically called power sliding. We're trying to do drifting. So you will have to have a rear-wheel drive car, and when you go into the tune, you have to turn the acceleration and the deceleration up to 100% so the differential locks. So when we get into the engine, you want to have 500 to 800 horsepower, be near the 800 horsepower side. For beginners, I would go with a supercharger, and for experienced, I would go with a turbo. So I will show you what this dyno graph is. So the supercharger goes, and then right here you see it starts to go up. See? And then while it builds up its boost, and then it gets to the max point, and then it goes down just ever so slightly. But most of it's a constant rate. As in this, it goes, and then the boost just kicks in and goes straight up. And then it goes up and back down. So this is easier to control, the supercharger, but the turbo's not, because it just kicks in and you don't know where it's going. You can use a V4, a V6, or a V8. You can't use a V10 or a V12. That would be too much horsepower. That's just not good drifting. Let's move on. We will go on to suspension and transmission. You will need to stiffen all suspension by around 200 pounds. That's just the front suspension and the rear suspension. If I were you, I would fully lower the car. You don't need a roll cage. That one's big because the car has less grip when it doesn't have a roll cage, and it's so much better. Trust me. And then you will need to stiffen everything else. Put it up just a tiny bit, not too much. So in transmission, the second gear should max out at 70 to 90 miles an hour. The reason is because if you're drifting in a car park, you won't have to shift at all. But if you're under 70, it'll max out the rev limiter. Third gear for streets or long drifts, I would max it out at 110 to 125 miles an hour. Now, don't just adjust your final drive, because that can actually end up killing your car. The tires won't spin. All they will do is grip up, and you won't be able to drift. Now, the next one is all about alignment and tires. So you can either use the street tires or the sport tires. I don't recommend the stock tires, but if you really want to, you can use them. Don't like it. You need -3 to -5 degrees of negative camber. When the wheel turns like this, it adds positive camber, which makes it go like that, and there's not enough grip. But when you add the negative camber, and it turns, it goes like this, and it becomes upright, so you have much grip. In the rear, I say -5 to 0.5 degrees of camber. That's all depends on your liking. You don't really need much. Now, a big one is the front tire pressure. That needs to be between 20 and 25 psi, because the less it is, the more grip you'll get in the front, but you don't really want 15 psi. That's not good. You don't want it to be low. Now, the rear tires should be 20 to 30 psi. This all depends on this. If you are near the 500 side, your PSI will need to be maybe more, or 30 PSI. But if you're near the 800 side, you should be near the 20 PSI side. And then now you put -5 to 0.5 degrees of toe on the rear tires. That actually just makes the tires go like this inwards a little bit. Instead of just straight, they go in. I don't know why, it's just drift setups. And also with this, don't be afraid to spend a lot of money on your car. You don't need that much though. Also about the dyno graph, if you see both of these, that's the max horsepower. That's your hot zones. That's when you get the really good drifts, if you learn how to drift. It doesn't take long. Okay guys, see you in the next video. The next video will be learning how to drift and the basics. See ya.